Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this episode of True Crime with the Sarge. I'm your host, Joseph Giacalone. Thank you for all joining us today on this Sunday afternoon. If you're watching this live, I appreciate it. If you're catching this on the replay team is great too. I love you guys. So I also want to give a quick shout out to the mods who have been helping this channel grow. Thank you very much. And the donors and sponsors. I appreciate that also. Today we have a very special guest. I'm going to bring him on. He is a retired NYPD first grade detective. We'll define what the first grade detective is. He is also the NYPD's historic, longest tenured hostage negotiator, Greg Yovanne. Greg, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been good. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I hope everything's going well.
Yep, it's good.
So the people are piling into the room here, Greg. Not to make you nervous at all, but we have this is a very interesting topic, right? So the hostage negotiator team, there's a lot of pop culture. We'll get into some of that stuff, and we'll get into like good things and bad things. But just for argument's sake, tell us what like the NYPD when they're trying to find individuals, who do they target specifically within the department to become a hostage negotiator?
Yeah, prerequisite. They like it's not written in stone, but this is what they other commanding officers of the hostage team, go by. Okay, they like experienced. First of all, they want you to be a detective. You're not going in as a cop. You have to have the gold shield, and that means you have some time on the job. And if you have some time on the job, it means you have experience on the job. They like life experience. They like people that are married and have been through different life changes. So they can, if you're talking to somebody that who's going through a divorce, you might know that because that might have affected you. So you have to have some kind of life experience. An older person, but not old, has been around for a while. They like detectives that are squad detectives because in a detective squad, we deal with everything. We deal with attorneys. Well, we're looking for a bad guy. We got to call that person up and try to get him into surrender. We got to speak to his attorney, or we have to speak to his family member, or we're speaking to DAs, complainants, victims. So we're constantly speaking to people in different emotional situations. So that's a big thing when you're in a detective squad. It's all we do. Okay. And then that helps us in our negotiation, you know?
So one of the skill sets you think that they look for, you think, I guess, being that good communicator or a good listener, right? You have to have both of those skills.
Well, yeah. I took a public speaking course in college, right? And it was just before I became a negotiator. And the professor says the key to communication is good listening. And I always thought the key to communication was talking. I go, whoa. And you think about that. So this person's talking to you in a negotiation. Pay attention to what that person's saying. Because if you veer off and your mind is going somewhere else, you're not paying attention, you can't continue with the conversation. And that person on the other end of that phone can pick up that you're not paying. You ever talk to somebody they're not paying attention when you're talking to them?
Mm-hmm.
You could tell. And you don't want that to happen in a negotiation because then you might lose that person and they may want to talk to somebody else. And, listen, you don't care about me because you're not listening. Okay. So, yeah, good listening.
Good listener, right? It's a skill I think we can all still work on, right? Because some of us have been guilty about that for a long time. So the experience that the department looks for, I guess, and the reason why they pull the squad is because, like I said before, it's all the cases that you deal with, the homicides, the sexual assaults, everything. A lot of people don't understand that. Like the squad catches all those cases. They catch the homicides, they catch the sexual assault, they catch all those things. And yes, they're specialty units, but they're more like enhancements than they're actually investigators.
Yeah. A detective in a detective squad, I used to call it, they used to say to me, where do you work? I said, I work in a detective squad. Oh, you don't work in a homicide squad? You don't work in whatever? I go, no, I'm the general practitioner of crime. That's what the detectives do. We investigate everything. And if it's really big, then we'll get assisted by maybe the homicide squad, maybe by special operations division that do like kidnappings, but it's still our case, and we're running with it. We're just being like assisted. So we deal with everything, man. You name it, even the
Right.
littlest little thing. You know?
Yeah, and that's what makes you that well-rounded individual, perfect for this
Oh,
kind of job, right?
yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yep.
When so, how does the department, you know, pick who's going to go? Let's say there's a job comes over, there's going to be a jumper. How does the department pick somebody to go? Right, because there's no unit, correct? There's no hostage negotiation unit where you have your own little office somewhere. They just have
Right. You know, that would, if that were the case, then I would go to work every day and sit in a room and wait for the bell to ring, like the fire department. And okay. In the meantime, what do you do? Because the jobs don't happen all the time. Citywide, they do. You probably get one a day, maybe citywide. But the way it works is, I worked in Manhattan North, the area of Manhattan North. If you work in the Bronx, it doesn't matter. Whatever borough you're working in, if you're a negotiator, your primary responsibility would be that borough. So if there's a hostage job in that part of the Bronx where you're working, chances are you're going to get called to go to that job. And I'm in Manhattan. I'll work the Manhattan jobs. The same thing with other boroughs. But most of the jobs that I got called for were jobs outside of my borough. Why is that? Well, because we have at that time 120 negotiators citywide. But believe it or not, depending on a negotiator's what a negotiator is doing that day, wherever he's working, he might not be available. And sometimes there's only one negotiator available in the whole city. And there's a job in Staten Island, and I'm in Manhattan. I've been to Staten Island more on hostage jobs than I've been in my personal life. I learned what Staten Island was by being on this job. Okay, I go, why are you sending me to Staten Island? Are there any negotiators around that can go from Brooklyn, maybe? And the person that giving me the job is saying, no, you're the only guy working today. The other negotiators are either in court, or they have an arrest, or they're busy on an investigation. And when you do that, you really can't stop what you're doing. They hit on the person that's in his office and not out in the field somewhere. And we need you, not just for your borough, but you're a negotiator. And that's sometimes I've been all over. I've been in every borough, not just the one that I was responsible for.
right.
Yeah.
Before I get into the next question, I just wanted to thank Not That Mickey, just gifted 5 memberships to the channel. Thank you, Not That Mickey. I really appreciate that. So you get the call, you go over there. What kind of calls do you think you responded to the most?
Well, look, you're going to get notified either by telephone, or they're going to, by text that the job is coming over. You'll get a thing that'll pop up, okay, and an address and where to go to. Not a lot of information, other than it could be a barricade, it could be a jumper, it could be something like that, but you really don't have a lot, okay. So what you got to do is you've got to grab, as long as you're not busy, okay, don't have an arrest or something, you got to grab your helmet and your vest. Okay, because every negotiator's got a duffel bag that's theirs, in the office. You can't keep it in the car because other people use that car. And if you get a job and somebody's got your car, you don't have your helmet and vest. Okay?
They're out to lunch.
Right. Well, when you get there, if you don't have it, the emergency service people out of there, they have extras and they'll give it to you. But you got to carry that thing. Okay? Listen, I go to the gym. I've been going to the gym my whole life. That helmet and vest and that duffel bag, it's the ones that emergency service guys wear. It's very thick. It's extremely heavy. I had to carry 2 of them because my sergeant says, Greg, we got a hostage job. Can you carry my helmet and vest with your... I couldn't even make it to the elevator. Well, I'm like, you want me to carry this to the car? So the helmet and vest is you got to take with you, or leave it in the car if it's your car. So you get the job and you're on your way over to, let's say, Brooklyn from Manhattan. You got to let them know you're coming because they like to hear that. And if you're stuck in traffic, you got to let them know I'm stuck in traffic. Negotiators on the way. Okay, whatever. When you finally get to the scene, and it may take you a long time because You may be going, at 4 o'clock in rush hour, and even though you got lights and sirens, you still can't. If the roads are blocked, you can't get around. Finally, you get there. Here's what you look for. You're going to look for a melee of police vehicles everywhere. The police vehicles, fire vehicles, EMS vehicles, you're going to see cops everywhere. You're going to know you're there. But that's the outer perimeter. You want to get into the inner perimeter where you're going to do your negotiation, where it's happening. So, but you just look, they're going to give you an address. You're not even going to get to that address. You're going to get to somewhere around it. And you're going to have to, get out there, speak to the cops and go, where is it? And he'll direct you. You go to that scene. If it's depending on if it's a bridge, a roof, or an apartment where you can speak to that person from the hostage negotiation vehicle, which is it's a truck where you go in and they'll connect you and you can speak to them from the truck. They'll let you know what you got to do. Okay. Or you might have to go to the door and speak out from outside their apartment door. You're going to get all that information when you get there, and you're going to be debriefed more about what's going on. You only get a little bit when you get the call. You get there, if it's still going on when you get there. A lot of times it's over. Okay. Emergency service may handle it and safely take the person out, or that happens a lot. What you'll know that it's still going on when you get to that area and there's police vehicles everywhere. This is a big thing. So you get there, you get debriefed. You can't really, you only have so much to talk about in your mind. Okay. They're telling you, okay, it could be a person whose wife left them. It could be a person who lost their job. You just have a little bit. So you don't want to hit on a lot of that stuff. You just want to just introduce yourself, ask some questions, and hopefully that person will talk to you. Once that person starts talking to you, if they feel comfortable, then you can get a little more comfortable with asking some questions, because everybody has a story to tell. If you could get them on the phone or talk to them in person, there's a reason why they're there, and they probably want to tell you what their side of the story is. Okay, but you don't know a lot when you get you. All you know is there's a barricade in apartment 2J, and he's alone, or he wants to kill himself. Okay, but why? I don't know. Okay, or he's in there with someone. You just get more. That's all you're going to get you'll get more when you get there, because they'll know more. And then, if the person allows you to speak to them, you'll feel relieved, and you're starting a dialogue with this person.
Mike Alcazar is in the room. He says, ask Greg about the relationship between the hostage negotiators and ESU, the Emergency Service Unit.
Well, that's a big thing. Okay. And it's always been, they're the Marines. All right. They're there to save you. Okay. You're doing a negotiation outside of an apartment door, and the guy's got a gun in that apartment. Well, there's a shield outside that door in case bullets start flying through that door. You're protected. They're protecting you. Okay. They're going to grab that person if they can, and protect me as well. Okay. We need them. They're usually the first on the scene. Okay. They're the ones setting up everything. And that's why sometimes you get to the scene, it's already called off, because they may have spoke to the person already, or they tactically removed him. But a lot of times you'll get there and they're talking to this person, and we let them talk, and it's fine. We'll go to their supervisor and go, listen, you started a dialogue. Perfectly fine. Let's just see how it goes. Okay. And we'll wait in the background, and we'll wait for a while. We're giving them a shot to speak, and maybe they could talk them out. And usually 9 times out of 10, the commanding officer of the ESU, the Emergency Service Unit, will say, okay, you guys, take the door, because our guys have been talking to them for a while, and we're really not getting anywhere. And it's no problem. They know that. and then we go to the door. But they're always, emergency service wants to go right in, right away, and you just kind of hold off because you don't want nobody getting hurt.
Right.
You know? But that's what they do. They're good at what they do, and I appreciate what they do. And they listen, I'd want to go in there too right away. That's my job. But you got to give
Get it right and get it over with. Go on to the next one.
right,
I just wanted to thank Forrest Nelson, just gifted 5 memberships to the channel. Thank you very much, Forrest. I really appreciate that. So, what are some of the things that you shouldn't do as a hostage negotiator once you arrive on the scene? Like when you start this dialogue with this person, what are some of the things do they teach you not to say or not to do?
Let's see. You know what? You could actually talk about anything you want to talk about, as long as, you could explain yourself. Like some things that we kind of stay away from.
Yeah.
Usually the subject or the hostage taker or whoever you're talking to makes requests. They want answers, and they're requesting certain things, and certain things they just can't have because it wouldn't be good for them. Okay. Everybody, like most of these cases are domestic violence in nature. They're crisis situations where maybe their spouse left them or they lost their job or something like that. A lot of these, and a person may want to talk to his boss. Okay, he just got fired. I don't think that's a good idea. Okay, no. So no, we're not going to do that. Okay, and are we going to tell the person we're not going to do that? We're just going to say it's not a good idea. I don't think right now. I mean, we'll deal with that in a little while, and we'll try to talk about something else to calm the person down. A wife, if that's the wife is leaving him and the spouse is leaving, it's not a good idea, and there are reasons for that. Okay, if the reasons, some of the reasons are, if you let them, maybe they want to get him on the phone and while they're on the phone, kill themselves. And I'm going to stick it to you. This is what. Okay, no, okay, no, just stay away from it. Okay, we'll know when it's time. Okay, and don't worry, you'll talk to your wife. Don't worry, just talk to me first. We'll get around this.
Yeah, that person could be the triggering event that caused them to be where they are right now. Why would you bring somebody in, right? Because I hear this a lot. Like when there's a hostage negotiation going on, or there's a barricaded prisoner, and I hear reporters saying like, maybe we should get his mom, or maybe I'm like, how do you know mom wasn't the reason why he's up on the roof?
No, we did that. That sometimes that was done. You put a question mark there because we tried to say no all the time, but sometimes you might want to just try it if you think it's okay. Okay, I'm not going to say we never do it. There are times that we did, but we make positively sure that nothing's going to go wrong. Okay, but you're still not sure about that. The same thing with clergy. You got to be careful with that. You want to confess and then hold off.
Right.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't think that, right? They think that this is going to be their last will and testament, and they're going to say this, and then that would be a terrible thing. Right. So, how long have you talked to people? What's So this thing goes on for 10 hours. Nothing's going on. What are you going through?
Yeah. So what do you talk about? So you're debriefed in the beginning about why that person is there or why that person is doing what they're doing. But then you're going to get more out of that person when you're speaking. So he gives you a reason why he's there. All right. You try to say, well, all right, let's figure this thing out. And you come up with all these solutions. And it only takes about 20 minutes to come up with all these different solutions. But you're talking to this guy for 10 hours. So you're repeating yourself. What do we talk about? You find out just bringing up the same thing over and over again. Okay. And you're in a 10-hour negotiation. You ran out of things to say right in the very beginning. All of a sudden, he comes out at 10 hours. Oh, I'm coming out. All right, I'm coming out. I'm coming out. I said, okay, well, good. So the question is, what did I say at that moment to get him to come out? Different than what I said to him the first 5 minutes into this negotiation. And it's nothing. The only reason why he came out usually is because all that time I was talking for 9 hours and 59 minutes, his stress level was way up here. And it's a negotiator's job to try to get that stress level down and level with you so you can understand and comprehend stuff and settle down. And it took 9 hours and 59 minutes to do that by saying the same thing. Because once his stress level came down, he heard me. He didn't hear me for 9 hours and 59 minutes. And that's usually a lot of times that's the case. Not every time, but that's usually what happens.
And that's got to make you feel like, how does that make you feel like after that? I mean, is this an exhausting thing for you?
10 hours into a negotiation feels like an hour and a half. The time just goes right by. There's a clock up in the truck that we're in. If we're in a truck or wherever you are, you just don't realize how quick this time goes. It's incredible. No. They go, you want a break? No. I go, what are you talking about? I just sat down. I go, no, you've been here. You're already here 3 hours sitting down. I go, didn't feel it.
Is it a lot of it about just like building rapport with the person, like trying to find that common ground? Is that how you kind of start off?
Yeah, because you don't know as soon as you get on the phone if that person is going to like the sound of your voice. If you're a male or a female, who knows? They may want a female. You just don't know. But like I said earlier, that person's in there going through something, okay? And everybody wants to tell their story. Everybody. They're there for a reason. They want to explain what's going on. Whether it's a hostage situation where there are hostages and the hostage taker has them. He's got a reason. What's his reason? It could be a religious reason, a political reason. He wants to spit it out there. And this buys time for the police to listen to this person. I don't know anything about what's going on the other side of this world, politically or with their religion. Okay, I'm not an expert. I can't talk about that, but I will listen to what he has to say so we can buy time and let our tactical people develop a plan to try to maybe tactically fix this. So just let them talk and listen. That helps a lot.
Just a quick question, almost like a side note. It says, Greg, what is the gender split of most of the hostage takers, I guess, that you've responded to? Are they mostly male?
Yeah. There's some female. There are some females, but mostly the one I've been on mostly males. And I know like Jack Cambria, like he was the commanding officer of the hostage team, and he'd go out on like every job, okay, because he's the commanding officer. And he's been on. I remember he had one that was a woman, and she was on a bridge trying to jump. He's got some footage of that too. It was nice. They saved her. But most of them are male, in my opinion.
Say no to globalism. As negotiator becomes like a therapist kind of thing. That's the question. Like you're almost like a therapist.
Yeah. We listen. Like I said, everyone wants to tell their story. They're there for a reason, and they're telling you why. And I have to tell you, these long negotiations that go on, these 10-hour ones, I was on a 50-hour job in Brooklyn. We used every negotiator, by the way. It went the whole weekend. I came back from my 2 days off, and it was still going on. So in situations like that, where that person is alone in their apartment, they got all the comforts of the world. They're going through whatever they're going through, but they got heat in the winter, air conditioning in the summer. They got their bed, they got their shower, they got the bathroom, they got food in the refrigerator. They can hang up on you anytime they want and call you back. And we were on this 50-hour negotiation. That's how it went.
Is that
Okay.
the longest one you've ever been on?
Yeah. Yeah. What happens is, that person was threatening to hurt himself for whatever reason. He was in there alone. And we just didn't want that to happen. But whenever he didn't want to talk to us, he'd just hang up and take a nap or something. And he'd call us back because he had somebody to talk to. And after 2 days, we kind of helped it a little bit. Okay, I think it was in the winter, so we shut off the electricity. He didn't have any heat. Now we make it a little uncomfortable for him. Okay, now you're in your apartment, you're nice and cozy. Now you're getting a little chilly. And then the lights went out. He didn't have any lights, so all of a sudden it's not that comfortable.
Yeah.
And after a while, they did figure out,
And he finally came out?
Yeah.
So Legs has a question: is how many cases have you worked on against negotiators where the individual was a fellow law enforcement officer?
Oh, that's big. That's big. I went on one. Jack Cambria, the ex-commanding officer of the hostage team, has more experience with that, but I've been on one. And when you get that call, you just don't,
Yeah.
What are you going to? Those are hard because when you get there, he's going to feel like, you're playing a game with me. I know what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, he knows he's a cop. Okay. I mean, usually after everything settles and they calm down, it works out. Jack Cambria he had a few of those.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to tell you, and from what he told me, they eventually they all went well, but they're just they're difficult sometimes.
Sarah had asked, what's the weirdest negotiation that you have ever go on?
Well, the ones that are strange, and I don't know why. I'd have to speak to a psychiatrist on this because a lot of the barricades that went on, when you get to the scene, they're throwing stuff out the window. They could be on the 30th floor, they could be on the first floor, and there's stuff coming out. I'm talking books, CD players, couches, chairs. I had one on 3rd Avenue, right by where I worked in the 19th. It was a high rise. It was a barricade. I would pull up in the car, and I see debris all over 3rd Avenue, and I didn't realize where it was coming from. I just see, what's going on here, right? All of a sudden, we almost got hit with I think it was a DVD player and just missed our car. It was a computer or something. So we're backing up. I go, all right, I guess it's coming from up there. And the person was throwing it out. He had to throw it far in order to bypass. There was a row of stores under, on the ground level. They're being winged out there. And the guy in Brooklyn is on the first floor. He's throwing his couch out. He's throwing paint cans out. I don't know why they like just throwing stuff out. But then they talk to you. They're fine. Listen, I just want, one guy, let me try to think of this one. He was in Brooklyn, but he told me he was ODing. He took some drugs or something. And he just was throwing stuff out the window. I didn't see it. I had heard about it because I'm in a truck. I'm not out on the street. Eventually, I saw the scene. I'm telling you, man, there was, you go to Home Depot and you get the paint cans. What are they? 2 quarts or whatever, whatever. They were down on the sidewalk. They opened up and there's paint all over the sidewalk. The emergency service guys were ducking under an awning because there was so much stuff coming out the window. But why? I don't know why they throw stuff. There was a guy on 34th Street. Okay, As soon as you get off the FDR Drive, a high rise, throwing rocks off the balcony. Now, where are you getting rocks? So I know the negotiator that was on that job. Okay. It was a luxury apartment, and he had a waterfall inside his apartment. And these waterfalls have these smooth rocks, the size of your,
Yeah, Riverstone.
Right? Well, for whatever reason, he barricaded himself, and he decided to throw him out his window, off the balcony onto 34th Street. This thing will hit your windshield. I mean, they were decent size, but they're falling like I don't know how many feet.
Kill somebody.
Right. That's the thing that I've run into most. Stuff coming out the windows. People, whatever they're going through. And we calm them down because we eventually talk them out, believe it or not. Or just go in and get them. Okay, I'm coming out, and we get them. And a lot of times depending on how long you speak to a person, you spend a lot of time speaking to this person. So it's okay for the negotiator to go to that door when they're ready to come out and meet them. But you have to do it with ESU, emergency service, because when that door opens, you really don't know what's going to happen. They're protected. Right. Okay. And, Mike had said it, before ESU, they want to get the job done quick or whatever. They're there. When the job gets done, it gets done. And they're there to help you. A lot of times there are weapons being surrendered before the guy comes out. Emergency service is a big part of taking those weapons first and making sure that there aren't any other weapons in that apartment before that person comes out. That's a big job that they take part in. People don't realize that.
Right. And ESU is the equivalent of, like, if you wonder what it is, like a SWAT team, like we see in LA. Yeah, that's basically the heavy weapons and tactics and that kind of stuff. Right. If you're just joining us now, we're 32 minutes into the show. We have retired NYPD Detective First Grade Greg Yovanne, the longest tenured hostage negotiator in the history of the department. And we are tuning in over 120 people right now. So just please remember to like and share and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that. Mike had said, he says there was a detective one time who was held hostage in the squad.
Yes, there was. That was my partner. I worked in the 19th Precinct Detective Squad, and we had like two other negotiators working there, and one of them was a good friend of mine. He worked a 4 to 12 basically, and I was in a different chart. I had done a day tour, and I remember I called the command. I called the squad because I forgot to put away my folder that was on my desk. So I called like it was like 9:30 or something at night. And I spoke to one of the detectives. I said, "Listen, did I leave that thing on my desk?" Yeah, no problem. I'll put it away. So I know at 9:30 everything was okay. Everything hit the fan at around 10 o'clock. And we had a detective was taken hostage. He went out to he was working on a case. It was a simple credit card case where he wasn't even, he wasn't even locking the person up. He was just bringing the person in to interview, to get more information. And that person may have thought that, something, he was going to get arrested or something, and wind up grabbing the detective and by the tie and drag, it's taking him hostage for a numerous amount of hours at gunpoint. That's all I can really go into because I don't have, it's. Yeah. He was taken hostage, and everything worked out. We had negotiators there speaking to this guy, and it worked out well. It worked out well. No one was injured. He wasn't injured, and he was arrested, and the guy is still in jail. Yeah.
Not that Mickey has a question. How did you keep your stress level down, especially when things escalate, like kind of nerves of steel? Like, what did you do to decompress from all this stuff? If they're talking to somebody for 10 hours who wanted to harm themselves or harm others, that has to take a toll on you.
Well, it only takes a toll if you're talking to somebody for a long period of time and they wind up killing themselves. So you spent a lot of time investing in this person, and you thought you thought you had him coming out. Okay, that some people it doesn't bother. Some negotiators probably it wouldn't bother. Some take it personally and have a hard time with it. Um, you talk about if you want to talk about it, you talk about it with your fellow negotiators. That's kind of the best way to do it. I came into work one night and there's a negotiator. He was beside himself because he was negotiating with someone outside of a window. He was just sitting on the air conditioning unit, and he wanted to come in. He was coming in. He says to me, the guy was in tears, the negotiator. I said, well, what happened here? He goes, he decided he wanted to come in and he was maneuvering himself and he slipped and was hanging down. And he couldn't hold on. And he fell to his death. And while the negotiator was like at the window talking to him, and he watched him drop. And the guy was beside himself, this guy. Yeah. So I spoke to him. Okay. I'm sure other negotiators spoke to him. And I'm sure the job has people that you could talk to, but I think fellow negotiators are what I would want to talk to. I think, I feel good, it could happen to anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't usually, a lot of guys are very, a lot of negotiators have a hard crust. Try not to let that. It's for a reason. You put that on, okay? Because you want to. Yeah. You don't want that to bother you.
So Flynn Brown from Finland there says, is there a difference in the negotiation process when there's children involved versus only adults? So I guess if they holding kids hostage.
No, I had an uncle holding his nephew hostage. He was only about 8 years old or something, at gunpoint. It's all just as serious. Everything is just as serious, no matter what the situation. If they want to kill themselves or if they got somebody in there, talk to them. Start
talking. Famous phrase, talk to me.
Right.
How did that famous phrase come about? Because that's part of NYPD lore.
Yeah. Well, the hostage team in NYPD was established in 1973. It was the first hostage team in the country. No other police department had a hostage team. So when that began, from what I was told, there was a female negotiator, a detective, who came out with that. And someone decided, hey, that's a good, make a great logo.
Yeah. Catchphrase, yeah.
Right. That's how that happened.
And it's important because that's what it is, right? To get the person into the conversation.
This is what when you're in a negotiation, the first thing I say is talk to me. What's going on? It's just like a natural thing. Even in your personal life. You go home and your spouse is in a bad mood. Hey, what's going on? Nah, I don't want to talk about it. Come on, talk to me. What's going on? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's wrong? Nothing. Nothing is something.
You didn't take the garbage out for 2 days. I'll have garbage.
Nothing, guys, means something. Just remember that.
Yeah.
You don't get caught into that whole scene there. That's for sure.
Those are negotiations I usually are not too successful with.
You and me both. So Lou Lemorocco, thank you very much for that super. I really appreciate that. That is great. Thanks, Lou. Says, so talk to me. This whole thing, get the person talking, is all fine, well, and good. What happens when the person doesn't want to talk to you, doesn't want to do anything? Now what do we do? Because I'm sure there's been times when they just sit there like this.
Yeah, well, I was on a job up in Harlem one time. I was the coach. I was in a truck with a negotiator. Okay, I wasn't the one speaking. My partner was trying to dial into this guy. He was in an apartment. I don't know what was going on with this guy, but he would pick up the phone. We'd call him and he'd pick the phone up, and then you hear click, and that would go on for about maybe a half an hour. You could hear that he's picking up, but he doesn't want to talk to us. Okay, so we just keep ringing and ringing and ringing. So what happened was a lot of times the emergency service guys will try to get an eyeball on him, okay, from a window. All right, just to see like where he is, what he's doing, if he's armed or whatever. And they have like a camera that's on a pole and it can reach up and just I think it was like a small window. And I think what happened was the camera like tapped on the glass and it might have scared him, thought that the police were coming in. Okay. That's what we think happened. Okay. So we weren't getting any hangups anymore when we called. So what happened was he was in the bathroom with a shotgun. He took his life because he thought that the police were coming in. But we didn't even establish any kind of dialogue with him. We were just ringing it. Okay. That's one situation. Okay, we never talked to him. And then there's times where like I have my own where I was talking to a guy for a while and I said something that he didn't like and he refused to talk to me. So, the commanding officer says, look, this guy wants to speak to somebody, but doesn't want to speak to anybody by the name of Greg. I'm like, oh, so we switched up and put another negotiator on. And then there are times when, we're in a negotiator and the commanding officer is like the manager of a baseball team. He sits in a dugout and he watches his pitcher. Okay, he's watching the negotiations, and he's figuring, it's going good, or maybe he's not, getting the point across or whatever. He has the power to say, hey, look, you've been talking to him for a while. I'm going to pull you. I'll put somebody else on, switch you up. And that's like the manager pulling a pitcher out in the ninth inning. You're winning the game, but you may lose it because his arm ain't the same as it was, right? So he's going to switch up. And that's what the commanding officer does with the team. He watches, he listens, and he'll leave you or he'll say, listen, not that you're doing anything wrong. I'm going to just try somebody else here. Okay? You've been doing good for how many hours, whatever. And that's his call because he's watching from the outside. It happens. Are we happy that happens? I'm not. You just pulled me off. I had like hours invested in this.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, all right, this is what it is.
And you want to see the job get finished. I mean,
right.
Just like the baseball reference you gave, right? The pitcher's never happy about getting taken out. And that's something. Is there a funny story that you have for us? I know some people, they love story time here.
Okay. All right. Well, the stuff being thrown out the windows, almost getting hit with a DVD player or whatever that was. But it was a barricade, and I was negotiating, and it was only on the first floor apartment. It was only like 10 feet up, and the guy was throwing out, everything. Books look like birds when you throw them out the window. They flap. The covers flap, and the magazines. It's crazy. They have such power to throw them out. So, and the guy I was talking to was very responsive. He loved talking to me. And he goes, yeah, I want to come out. I said, yeah, we're all about an hour and a half into this thing. Yeah, I want you. Okay, all right. He goes, you know what? There's an airbag down. I want to jump on that airbag. I said, well, just walk out the front door. I said, why do you want, I said, just, you don't have to do that. Yeah, I feel like, I would love to do it. I go, I don't remember what I said to him that made it sound like it was okay to jump on the bag. Okay. So I'm on hold now. I'm not talking to him. And one of the negotiators says, hey, listen. He goes, maybe that's not a good idea. I go, what if he misses that bag? I go, you're right. I go, oh, call him back. We press the button in the thing. We're dialing him. I said, listen. I said, just do me a favor. I said, come out the front door, please. I said, that airbag, I'm getting the word that it's no good. It's defective. So if you know, it was repaired. If you hit that thing, it may not. It's not going to help you. Okay, and he actually listened to me. He goes, shucks, you just. I go, don't worry, we'll meet you at the door, and okay. And I'm going like, oh my God, thank.
Yeah. Well, you know what? As when you're negotiating these things, I mean, how do you keep all your thoughts about you too? Like, so you kind of not so much made a mistake, but you just kind of like, it's the first floor. What could go wrong?
Sometimes you don't realize,
Yeah.
you got to pay attention to what you're saying. You get lost in the sauce sometimes, you know. Yeah, man. I that's why you have, a lot of times we do these negotiations by ourselves if there's no other negotiator. So who's going to be with me to tell me, hey, listen, maybe you shouldn't have said that or something, right? And I'm lucky I had two negotiators with me in the truck. And it worked. I go, look, there was a guy in the Bronx. I was on a negotiation where we had to negotiate through bullhorn because he was standing out on the window ledge, about one story up. Okay, there was an airbag there. Okay, the guy wouldn't talk. He just didn't want to answer us. Okay, he didn't want to answer emergency service. When they were there, we got there. So we're doing it from a bullhorn. And, from a bullhorn, you're across the street. Okay, and he's standing there on a ledge with a butcher knife that's like this big. Okay, I'm like, we're like, well, what's going on here? All he wanted to do, apparently, was jump on that bag and pop it with the knife. That's what he did. He leaped off that thing. As he came down, as he was coming down, he went, boom, pop that bag. He was fine. Saved him. I guess there was enough air in there before he popped it. And it fell, and it folds over you when you go in.
Right.
Which is good because you got like a cover over you. And he's got a knife and stuff. So, emergency service guys go over there right away. All right. And secure him before the bag unfolds. But that was, we tried to negotiate with him. It's tough with a bullhorn because he could hear you, then he's got to yell.
You might not be able to hear him.
Right, exactly. And like I said, he was looking at that bag like it was a big jelly donut or something. I just want to eat that thing, And there he goes. He saved his life. And a lot of these things, we don't know what the result is. Okay, they're taken to a hospital, and hopefully they get better. And you just don't know the outcome because you leave now. Negotiations over. You did your job, and you go back to the squad. Now I got to investigate my cases again. What I left off when I got the job. But I'm going to tell you this: they find you, and this is what I talk about when I teach. When they call me to teach hostage stuff, these people that you speak to never forget you. Okay, to them you saved their life. To them you are a celebrity. Okay, so some years down the road, I get a call. Answer the phone. I'm in the detective squad, and the guy, I think it was the guy that was on that 50-hour job, that whole weekend thing. He goes, "Hey, you remember me?" I go, "I have no idea." I go, "Who am I talking to?" He goes, "Oh, you saved my life. You talked to me on the phone. It was in Brooklyn." I go, "Oh." I said, "Oh my God." I said, how you doing? He's calling me from, I forget where he was. He says, "I'm doing fine." I'm saying to myself, I hope so. Because I hope I'm not going through a negotiation on the phone now. You got in touch. But he goes, "My life has changed. I want to thank you for what you did for me." And they find you. That's not the only time. I've gotten calls from other ones.
It's got to make you feel great.
They make you. They remember. Like you may not remember them because you do. A lot of this stuff. But as long as they give you some particulars on what it was and what borough it was in, then I'll refresh my memory. But yeah, this guy was he made it. That was the job that we used all of our negotiators. So I think he contacted every negotiator, or tried to anyway.
But that's got to make you feel good,
Yeah,
right? When you,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
you,
it makes you
you're
feel
doing
good
this.
just to talk. You know what? A successful negotiation isn't just talking the person out. It's talking to that person for hours, and then for whatever reason, emergency service people have to go in and tactically remove them. That is a successful negotiation because nothing happened in 10 hours when you were talking to them. They went in to get him out for whatever reason, because maybe they thought he was never going to come out or something, or for whatever reason. Sometimes they just have to get him, but they got him out without hurting him, okay, without using any force. And you spoke to him for all that time and he didn't do anything. That's a successful negotiation, okay?
When you see some of the stuff on television, I know one of the things like the patrol cop, the patrol supervisor always seems to get into, making decisions, doing all this stuff. What do you say about that kind of stuff in pop culture stuff?
What, I mean, just like the movie kind of
Yeah,
thing?
movie kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the thing in the movies is you always hear like, don't lie to them, um, don't promise them anything.
Mhm.
Let me tell you something. You could talk about anything you want to talk about, okay? Just as long as you're sincere about what you're doing and you care for this person. Listen, this is what you want. I don't know. I'll see if like that can. I'll go I'll see if that can happen. I have to speak to my people, the authorities. If you want, I don't know. Guy wants a helicopter. Okay, let me check it out for you. I can't tell you no. Okay, I don't want to upset you. Well, check it out. Maybe we can get you a helicopter.
What about food requests?
Well, you got to be careful with food requests. Okay, like one guy says to me, Greg, you were talking to this guy for a while. You wanted him to come out. What if you promised him like a pizza? He's in his apartment and he's getting hungry.
That'd get me out.
I go, a pizza? I go, you give the guy a pizza. Now he's got a whole pie. He ain't coming out till tomorrow. You want to give him a pizza? I'll give him one slice. Okay? You can't, you got to be careful like that. Okay? Yeah, listen, guy in the Brooklyn Bridge was climbing, the wires, the cables on the sides, the Brooklyn Bridge? Guy was climbing them. All right? He was going through something. And, emergency service was hooked onto one of the cables, was trying to talk to him. We were trying to yell to him, right? We shut the Brooklyn Bridge down. It was like 4:00 in the afternoon. The guy wanted he got the message that he wanted a Heineken. So we went out, we're showing Heineken bottles to the guy. Okay. He wanted a beer, but he was going through, a domestic thing, I guess, with his girlfriend, but he decided, listen, I'm in the mood for a beer. And that kind of allowed us to get close to him, and we were able to get him and take him down. You want to give a guy a beer, you can give him a beer. Don't give him a case of beer. He's never coming out.
Right.
What if he's an alcoholic and you just gave him some alcohol? Right?
It could make it worse.
That's right. So you just gotta like do your homework and get a little information on some things before you do anything like that.
Just found out there. Flynn Brown, Finland. Happy birthday. We just saw that in there. So congratulations on that. So you're still training now. The NYPD still brings you back to train, right? That's awesome.
That's right. That's right. For the new negotiators. Yes. And I explained to them, what they are going to be faced with when they go back to whatever job they're at, the squad, if they're working in headquarters, whatever they're assigned to. And I explained that phone's going to ring, or you're going to get a notification and you're going to go, oh, what do I do? It's my first one. And I go through the whole procedure of, just getting the address, get another negotiator if you can, go together And it's really kind of, they're just waiting for you to get there. Everybody's waiting for you because you're the last person. The negotiator is usually the last person that arrives at the scene. It's a police situation. Patrol's going to be there. They're going to call emergency service, and they're going to call, when they get there, they're going to call the hostage if they need it. You're the last guy coming. So they got, they're waiting for you, and they want to hear that you're coming. Put it over the radio. Tell them I'm en route. Tell them you're in traffic. Tell them I'm 5 minutes out. Because if you don't, it's like, oh, what are we doing here? Come on.
Yeah, when are they getting here? And then the ASU's getting antsy.
Yeah.
Let's end this thing.
Right.
Patrol's going, all right, let's end this thing. I got the radio backing up.
Let's just go in and get them. I mean, I'll be there. You got to put it over.
Well, that's a dangerous game, though, right? If they go in and something goes bad, boy, I wouldn't want to be that person that made that decision.
It's happened. It's happened. And the question was, why did negotiators were on the scene? Why wasn't there negotiation? Right. It's happened. It doesn't happen a lot. Okay. It's rare. It's rare.
Right. But it does happen, unfortunately. Yeah. Everybody's in a rush, and people think they can do things, right? I could do this.
Well, look, listen, they're only doing things out of trying to do a right thing. And if it goes wrong, they didn't want it to go wrong. It's, and they're going to say, well, why didn't you try this? Why didn't you try that? Listen, we had a job. There was a job on the Statue of Liberty years ago. Okay. And I think it was up by the head of the statue. Because I know the negotiator, it's a female, that got called on that job. And she told me about this. And I thought that was the coolest thing. Aviation took her up in the helicopter. Okay. Now, in the helicopter, you can't hear nothing. You got headphones. You can't even hear the guy next to you. Oh, so I guess they tried this on a loudspeaker to tell him to come down. But you really can't have a conversation, right? But it was something that was used, and we could say, hey, we even tried this, and that's why it's just try it, try anything.
Right. Crazy. Yeah, I've been in one of those Hueys, boy. When they had the Hueys, it's not a fun ride. I think I had a headache for like 3 days, and then after that thing. Linda Wolf, thanks for becoming a new member. I appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. I mean, yeah. So it's great. So, how many years total made you the longest tenured NYPD hostage negotiator?
I did 30. I did on the job 34. I did, and I had 23 as a negotiator.
Wow. So you'll probably hold on to that mantle a long time because people don't even work past 20 anymore.
Now it's everybody leaving them, what's going on.
It's got to be a strain too, right? Because all these and the detective squads got hit the most. So putting hostage negotiations together, it's got to be a tenuous job trying to field a full team. How many people citywide generally?
Well, right now, when I was there, it was like 125 negotiators. Now they're up to, you're not going to believe it, they're up to over 200.
Oh, wow.
Negotiators. And that's partly because people leaving the job. They got to just keep hiring, making negotiators. I do this training for NYPD on a steady things once a year. I do 2 classes. We never did it once a year. Negotiators, guys didn't leave. We put a new class in, people would say, hey, can you give me an application for the hostage team? I go, yeah, sure, but you're probably going to wait a few years, because we got our manpower. That's how it was back then. Now, I guess because of the movement, they beefed it up. They got a lot of negotiators now.
And you can't replace that experience, right? I mean, you did it for over 20 years. I mean, how do you replace that experience? I'm glad that they had the common sense to bring you back to teach, but it's nothing like actually doing it with somebody.
Look, jobs don't come that easy because you got a lot of negotiators. Okay, you don't know when you're going to get called. There's 200 negotiators. I know guys that were negotiators for a couple of years and never had a job. Okay. You just never know how it's going to work. And that's why I tell them, I go, look, if you have the opportunity to negotiate and get called on a job, and go. If like you can't go, maybe you have a collar or an arrest, or you're doing something. If you can go and have somebody, handle that for you or something, because you may not get that opportunity again. These jobs don't come around as often as you think. They're there every day, but they're in Brooklyn, Queens, and we have like so many negotiators. It's the luck of the draw. I just got, I was on quite a feof jobs, but not as many as you think. In 23 years, I responded to hundreds of them. Did I negotiate? No. Most of them I didn't do anything. Okay, you luck out when you negotiate, if you get that opportunity.
So, last question from Blue Bear says, once you have the guy down, do you have any other interaction with him?
Yes, you can. A lot of times, like I said, I think I mentioned it before. You spend so much time speaking to this person. If it's on the phone and they're barricaded, let's say, and that person's going to come out, you want to meet them at the door, and you will walk them to the ambulance. Okay. And because they're going to be taken to the hospital to get checked out, and you will walk them, and they'll be able to meet you and see you face to face. Most of the time, that doesn't happen in barricade situations. You have to request it. They sent me home on a job. I did a long negotiation, and it just was very long. I guess there was, they switched me up with another negotiator, and I was just hanging around. And the boss said, "Okay, you can go back." So when it was over, I never even saw that person I was talking to. But you can. It's good to do that. Negotiators like doing that as long as it's safe to do.
Bonnie Bailey, thank you very much. Says, "Hey Joe, great stream. So much respect for Greg. Thank you for being here for those people that needed help." Liz G just became a new member. Thank you very much. And Not That Mickey, thank you very much for that generous donation. Says, "Greg, it's an honor to listen to your stories and experience. You're an extraordinary human being. Sarge, thank you for the treat. Love this one. Very informative, fun. Thank you, Not That Mickey. I really appreciate that." So, Greg, you got yourself a whole bunch of new fans. Hopefully, we will have you back on in the future, especially if something big happens in the news. We'd like to have you come on. It's always good to see you.
I would love that. Yeah.
Great. You hang out 1 second, Greg. We're going to say goodbye, everybody. Tomorrow morning, roll call, 8 a.m. Everyone's favorite retired detective, Mike Alcazar, will be joining us. We'll be talking about some of the cases that you're following. So tune in tomorrow, 8 a.m. Greg, you hang out 1 second. Everybody else, enjoy the rest of the weekend, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.